Hello, this is Steve Foxon from Resomonics, and in this video I'm going to briefly show you the interface to Refraction, our new instrument for Kontakt. This is not meant to be an in-depth tutorial and will be just a very quick walkthrough of everything that you can do. First thing to mention is that Refraction uses Kontakt's snapshot feature exclusively, so there aren't any NKI files for the instruments apart from the main Refraction one. So you will need to install the snapshots. If you don't know how to do that, there is another video on the Resomonics YouTube channel showing you how to do that, or the instructions are in the manual. And once you've done that and you open up Kontakt, you need to click on the camera icon to make sure that the snapshot menu is showing, and then as you can see there, we have the snapshot menu, and we can choose any one we want, and it will load up that pretty quickly. Just for now though, I am going to go back to the init file, which basically initializes everything back to its defaults, which is a good place to start. Now, Refraction has the option to have up to 3 layers of sounds. These are selected using these menus up here in the top right. First thing that you would do is select type here from the menu, long, short or sustained. Long being a synth that lasts about 5 to 10 seconds. Short synths just decays off after about less than 5 seconds, and then sustained is held as long as you hold the key. So we'll pick the long synth there. This then opens up this other menu where you can select one of the long sounds or reversed, or if you go to the short, you can select the short synths. Sustained, select sustained, and so on. You can also use these little arrows to choose them. You can then go onto the second layer and choose a sound for that, and again go through that. Alternatively, you can press on this little random button, which will randomize selection of a sound for each layer, or you can click on random, which will just randomly load all 3. So on this main page as well, you've got the amp envelope, the pitch envelope, the filter envelope, the start position, and the layer mixer. Switch between the different layers with these buttons here globally, 1, 2, 3. They change colour, as you can see, to show they're on different layers. Or you can use the individual buttons just there to change the different sections. Now, when this link button is lit here, then that means any change you make to any of the envelopes will affect all 3 layers. However, if you unlink it, then each layer will behave differently. To unlink it, you need to unlock the little icon, click the link button, and then each layer you'll be able to alter differently. So you can get rid of the attack there, but on layer 2 you can have full attack, and that still retains it. And then if you decide that actually you want to link them all again, you can click link, and all the settings are copied over to the other layers as well. And that's the same for the pitch, the filter as well. The only one that isn't is the start position, which is you can't link them. That's separate for each one. You can set the start position of the sample, and you can also select a random position for the sample, so that each time you play it plays something different. So you've got 6 different filters to choose from: velocity for the filter, the cutoff, the resonance, filter envelope, and the envelope amount. Over here we have the layer mixer, where you can mix the volume level of the 3 different sounds. You can set the pan for the 3 different sounds, and you can set the tune. You can solo a layer, and you can also mute layers. And then finally, down here we have the crossfade slider. To enable this, we just click this button here, and then what this does, when you've got 3 layers loaded, and this works best if you've got 3 sustained layers, basically when the slider is over to the far left, it starts with layer 1, and gradually as the slider goes across, it brings in layer 2 and then layer 3. So when we're right at the top, all 3 layers are playing at their full level. This is very good for building sounds. Also, if you put a rhythm in the 3rd layer, you can bring a rhythm in when you want to and fade it out when you don't. Also works for 2 layers, just fading through the 2 layers. But if you've not got 3 layers loaded, if you've only got 1 layer loaded, then you won't be able to enable that there. And as you're adjusting any parameter, you will see up here on the left you've got the info pane, so whatever you do will be reflected in there. When you load a sample, it'll say what type selected and what have you. So that's the first page. You see down the bottom here we have 5 different sections altogether. This is the layers section. Moving over to the effects section, we've got sends effects and we've got insert effects. The insert effects are applied across all 3 layers, and these can be post filter or pre-filter. They're pre-filter by default, but if you turn on the option just here, then they are applied post filter. You've got transients, saturation, screamer, lo-fi and distortion on this page. And on the sends we've got chorus, delay, reverb, convolution and phaser. You can see here that you can't affect them when they're turned off and they are greyed out, but as soon as you turn them on they do light up and you are able to change settings. Now the send effects, whilst they are applied across all 3 layers, you can actually change the send level for each layer individually. So if you didn't want the chorus going to layer 1, you can turn that right down, and you can adjust the level of the other ones as well, like that, and that will affect. And then for the overall level, you would use the gain. You'll also notice in the inserts and sends you have this little mini mixer up here. That's available on most pages. Works like the mix on the first page. You've got the levels just there, you've got the pan just there, and you've got the solo and you've got the mute just there. The convolution reverb, you've got a menu here where you can select from a number of different convolutions. Some plate reverbs in there, some delay verbs in there, and some general weirdness in the reverse and reflections as well. And then finally you'll notice a note number on all the effects. Basically that is a key switch where holding down that note will turn the effect on and letting go will turn it off. So if you want to sort of bring it in as you're playing, you can do. So that's the effects section. Next we'll move on to the rhythm and LFO. This is where you can find 4 LFOs, gain, pan, pitch and filter LFO. So all the LFOs work the same. You have an amount, you have a rate. That rate can be synced or unsynced. And then you can add shapes here, the sine, the triangle, the saw, the random, a rectangle and the width of the rectangle. You can either alter these manually and sort of have a combination of them all, or you can select one of the presets just there. And these can be also selected using the arrows. You've then in addition got this pre-FX filter just here, which you can enable, and then you've got cutoff and resolution. That needs to be turned on to be able to use this filter LFO at the bottom. But you can also use the filter sequence just here, where you can draw in a sequence for the filter up to 64 steps, and change the rate, and you can clear all and fill all there. Again, the LFO can be applied separately to each 3 layers using these buttons here. You can flick between the layers, the layer colours being the same. Again, it's linked at the moment, but if I unlock that and unlink it, then I can change things on, say, layer 1, and on layer 2 they'll be different, and I could turn the filter off for layer 2 and have it on for layer 1 and 3. So that does really open up the possibilities for some really interesting rhythms. You can have completely different rhythms on each layer, or have a filter LFO on one layer and a gain on another, and pan another, pitch another. It opens up some real big possibilities. There are some presets under multi-rhythms. There's 10 provided there, which do make use of that feature. Moving on to sequencer and ARP. You've got either arpeggiator or a step sequencer that you can turn on here. Both of them are affected by this pattern table here. The step sequencer more so, because that decides the steps. And then with the arpeggiator, it also defines the velocity or relative velocity of the notes that are played. And if there's nothing there, then it won't play that note. You can have up to 32 steps. You've got the clear all and fill all options there. The timing down here, the rate, the length and the swing. The order that the notes are played. Octave and repeat. So the step sequencer, this part will be disabled, the note order, but you've still got all the other settings that you can use. And then finally on here we've got a randomize button. Here you can select which things you want to be randomized, and you can also select the minimum and maximum range of the randomization. There's some quick select buttons here, so if you click on all, it will select them all. If you click none, it will clear everything. And if you click rhythm, it will just select those to do with this rhythm there. But for now, let's select all, and then we can click randomize, and you'll see that the table gets randomized, the rate, and it's as easy as just clicking that as many times as you want, just to get some inspiration for something new. And if you go, okay, I like that pattern, you can turn the pattern off, randomize again. Yeah, I like the octave and the length there, and so on and so forth. And when you are finished, if you really like that, you can either save all the settings into a preset for loading later, or you can just save the rhythm part of it just there and then load that later as well. And so that's the sequencer and ARP page. Finally, we move over to the master page. So first on this page we have the mono mode. By enabling that, it will turn it into monophonic mode, so that only one key can be played at the same time. You can select whether you want the key up trigger on or off. That basically means when you take, if you've got one note held down, you keep that held down and you play another. When you take the other one off, the previous note will sound again if you have the key up trigger enabled. You've also got unison just here, where you can select up to 4 voices. You can select how much the voices are detuned between each other and how far apart they are. This is great for creating some really fat sounds. Switch it to 2 voices, put the detune to around 30, spread it wide, and suddenly you've got these 2 notes playing that are slightly detuned from each other, giving that sort of classic thick analog sound. Next we have the equalizer. You have an equalizer per layer. It's quite a simple equalizer with just the low, mid and the high. We have a compressor, we have stereo, where you can spread the stereo or you can pan it, and finally a limiter. And the last thing on this page is, again, you have also got this little mini mixer with the volume controls, the pan, and the solo and the mute. And that is that really. That's just a very quick overview of everything that you can do with this. If you want to hear some sounds, there's another video on the channel playing through those sounds. And I hope you enjoy composing with Refraction. Thank you very much, and goodbye.